Hey everyone, welcome to the Leopard Rig walkthrough on the rig, basically for Sophoria. We are going to just quickly look at some features that we have on the rig, and yeah, I mean, it's a really cool character. It's pretty straightforward. It's a nice quadruped, nice and light, and the rig has been built for students with simplicity in mind, really. Meaning there are a lot of features that I've actually put into the rig in terms of the visibility. So when I work, I always try to just minimize as much distraction as possible on the rig. So having everything on is just, you know, it's a nightmare to work with. It's all like, oh, which one do I work on, which one? So I've simplified it back that we don't have to have any of those big controllers and the toes, for example, just always there on the feet, not available by default. So the jiggles also, these are really cool little features we've put into this rig to fake muscle simulation. They don't need to be visible until the end of the animation, and then you have the opportunity to turn that off. All right, so it's a straightforward advanced skeleton based rig and nothing super fancy. It's a pretty cool character. However, what I wanted to show you actually was the detail. So if we go into a wireframe, not a wireframe, a untextured, unshaded version, we have the geometry as it stands here with low poly on, and you can turn that on and you can see the geometry there. But if you select the geometry, actually in the hypershade, we have this really cool displacement shader built into the main shader, and it's not visible by default. It is for rendering if you need it. It is there. It's quite a big file, so make sure you've got space to download it. And then if you go to the attribute editor, and remember that you only want to do this when you are playblasting your animation or doing final renders or anything. Don't turn it on when you're working, because it just slows down the viewport a lot. So yeah, go into the shape section of the geometry and then go down to smooth mesh. I don't know why it's in smooth mesh options. Displacement preview should probably be in displacement map, because that would make sense, right? Great, let's have a meeting about that. Displacement preview, we can turn it on. So if we turn it on, it will load that massive file and have it as a displacement option. And this was basically the sculpt that I did in ZBrush, and just adding in a few more details here and there to the geometry. Added in a couple of veins here and there, and let's turn these lights off so you can see better. Yeah, so you know, just adding a bit more anatomy structure into the rig and the geometry, and giving that really nice muscle feature on the rig something to work with. And it gets really nice when you start to put pressure on the geometry and moving those muscles around up there under the neck. Really nice and heavy. We could turn maybe the light on a bit more, and then yeah, you can see really how nice it is. I don't know why that's popping there. It's probably because I've got a T-pose in here, and I've keyed it in, so it's giving a bit of skittish jumping stuff. Anyway, that's that, and really cool feature for the geometry. If we then go to the rig and just try and understand a little bit about it, we have yeah, I'm actually going to turn that off because it's super slow in the viewport. I don't need to see it right now. And you turn it off, hopefully Maya doesn't crash, and then things kind of return back to normal. Good. What else can I tell you? Alright, so if we go through the rig, I've pretty much taken all the normally this advanced skeleton puts a controller here, and it's annoying. I don't like it there. I like it on the foot. And what I'm talking about is actually the controls for the toes, because when I'm animating and let's say the foot is like here and the toes in the air or something, I don't want to have to come back and then look and find that controller and then go and try and find that space that I was looking at in the terms of the negative shape. But actually I can just, while I'm moving the foot around, I can actually just find those curls and just adjust them on the fly as the foot is in the air, for example. So I put those features onto there, the spread and everything's there. Much simpler. And then we have two rolls. So we have the roll from the back of the foot, and then we have the roll from the front of the foot. Pretty nice. And then there's always this really tricky part of a quadruped where you're trying to compress this part of the geometry, this ankle area. It's really tricky because you have to pull that down, but at the same time you have to get the shoulder also to line up so you don't lock the joint, but also the chest is normally at this point going up, so you're counter animating this by pulling it down, that going down, and the chest going up. It's really tricky to do so, but the feature is there on the ankle, and you can also add it on the foot. All right, then we have this triangle, which will be your clavicle area, and then we have this controller at the top, which is for that top little area above the shoulder blades. And I put a feature in here that enables you to follow the shoulder a little bit. So if you turn that on, let me just break the connection. If I turn this on, when I move this, that shoulder control will follow with it, but with a little bit of an offset. All right, it's kind of looking at a joint with a fall off. It is a nice feature. I found that it works if the leopard is, say, running or climbing a tree or something, because then you don't have to animate both. But ideally, just for a walk cycle, I would actually just have that following off and then just animate them independently. Okay, cool. So chest, straightforward. You've got stretchies, volume, all that stuff. In the advanced things, we have the main head controller. Yeah, nothing fancy on there. And then we have the ears, which is kind of an interesting part of the rig that I set up. I didn't want to have too many controllers here. You can actually turn them on and off if you want to view them. There they are. Turn the in-betweens off. But I've rigged it so that the fall off is actually built into the ear. What I mean by that is that the children of that controller will then actually rotate with a fall off, basically. So you get this fall off instantly when you animate one controller. It just saves a lot of time when you're animating the ears. But if you wanted to go into animate each one independently, there is the option. Yeah, the rest is straightforward. Then we have the center control, and this is actually quite an important control for the leopard. If you've ever watched a leopard walk cycle or walking, this shift in weight is quite strong. So probably much more than a lion. Hip does the same thing. We have this part of the controller, which is the back thigh area, and then backwards down to the feet. It's all the same. IK, FK, tail. Now you're wondering where the switches are. They're all in this visibility controller up here. So up here we have the attributes, so you can turn them on and you can switch between FK, IK and all that sort of stuff. You can turn on the jiggles. As I mentioned before, the jiggles are really nice fat simulation kind of controllers which you animate at the end of your cycles or your animation. And the toes, so we have our toe controllers. They're there for the toes if you wanted to animate each one individually. The tail controllers, now normally I animate in FK, but in this walk cycle I animated it in IK. It was just easier for me to do the tutorial in it. I've only plugged in the FK option, so if you turn this on and off, you're not going to see anything happening because the tail is actually in an IK mode. So if I go to frame, let's go back to frame 0 and I turn this layer on. It's trying to demo a video with a walk cycle built into it. So at the moment it's in IK, and then if we switch to the FK mode and turn the FK viz on and IK viz off, this should be automatic when you do that. I don't know why this hasn't been implemented into Advanced Skeleton yet. So now then, if you go to the visibility controller and you turn the tail on and off, it will turn the tail on and off, which is it's a bit more standard, you know. So anyway, legs, you probably never ever want to animate them in FK. So I don't know I've never animated an animal in all of my life with FK legs, unless it's a bird, probably. But even still, IK is better for me. Alright, and then yeah, you've got your elbow controllers. You can lock them, you can have them follow the parent and whatnot. And I think that's pretty much it. This character is quite straightforward. We have a nice face rig. So we have the cog controller if you wanted to animate the character going forward and backwards along the ground. And let me just turn everything on. Alright, the neck controllers are there. We have this really cool control I put in, which controls both of the shoulder top of the joints, which is kind of nice to have, a nice feature. And then yeah, I look at controller, and you know, you've got the usual kind of Advanced Skeleton blinky stuff. Blinking and whatever going on there. Nice facial rig, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, everything is just working quite nicely, and I hope you guys use this rig. I hope you enjoy it and you show some really cool animations using it. Don't forget to tag Sophoria Academy in all your videos and blah 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 blah. And yeah, I hope to see you in on the Academy or in the forums on Discord, and in the future, yeah, submit your work there, get some reviews, talk to the other students. Really cool. And yeah, I hope you like this rig from Sophoria Academy. Cheers.